Hey, this is Full Game Prometheus, the only YouTuber that actually gives you full games of all the tips and schemes I post on my channel. I'll show you the good, the bad, and the ugly. So guys, if you're new to my channel, you like daily tips, you're looking for strategies to take your game to the next level, go ahead and hit the subscribe button down below and also notification icon. I roll out daily tips that'll help you go ahead and add new things to your playbooks and new strategies and thought process. Also, off to the right, I've actually put a card up in the upper or right hand corner where you can basically go ahead and get access to this entire playlist, whether it's defensive tips or it's a playlist for the playbook. You can go and access the full playlist there, so you want to go ahead and take a look at that. Alright, so guys, I want to talk about something I kind of discovered that I've really taken for granted over the past few years since I've been doing a YouTube channel. From one of my recent subscribers, it's pgotgame82. This guy's been playing Madden for quite a long time. I think he started with Madden 25, but he had Madden 16, Madden 17, and now he's actually got the next Madden. And he said, I need help defensively. I struggle with defense. I need some help. And I went ahead and we scheduled basically just an hour talk where we just talk about his philosophy. Then we went on the computer and stuff like that. And I discovered even the most experienced players sometimes don't know some of the tricks and techniques and tips that a lot of the elite players use, a lot of the professional players use online. Now, I want to let you know I am not the best player out there. I'm far from the best, and if you guys follow my channel, you see I post a lot of my losses, and I win probably about 60% of my games, but I'm not someone that's going to be, I'm not the next person going to be at the Madden tournament. I can guarantee you that, because I can't grind like all the pros do. So let's talk about defense and what are some of the common things that you can do to go ahead and take your defense to the next level. So a lot of things that people just don't understand. There are different strategies, defensive strategies that the pros use, and what's the difference between them and what an average Madden player is going to do against you. So let's just go ahead and jump into the game real quick. I want to talk about first and foremost defensive audibles and basically how they play into your defensive scheme. If you're playing Draft Champions, Madden Ultimate Team, which are probably the two most popular modes, definitely Madden Ultimate Team, you guys are going to be constrained to one book and the stock audibles. Now, if you're playing a franchise, play now, ranked games, this is totally different. You guys have a huge advantage setting up schemes, playing different defenses, so there's probably going to be a follow-up to that. But I want to talk about basically some commonalities. Now, when I was having a conversation with my subscriber, he basically said, what do you mean by base play? Well, you keep saying base play. What does that mean? Picking a base play is making sure you pick a play that is not something you can access to your audibles. Now, I want you to take a look at 34 odd right now as one of the defenses. This defense, the audibles are cover 2 man, pinch bucko, which is a 0 blitz, meaning you have man, you have no over the top coverage, Tampa 2, and then cover 3 sky. So these are the 4 coverages that you can go into your audible. So you got a cover 3, a cover 2 zone, you've got a 0 blitz, and then a cover 2 man. Now, if we keep looking at all of our other audibles, these audibles all look the same. And the reason why is that basically they're pretty much the same across the board. You could expect your left bumper, your L1 button always to be a Tampa 2 or some type of Tampa coverage. Your triangle or your Y button to be some kind of an aggressive man blitz, 0 blitz, and your right bumper, your R1 button to be a cover 3. So take a look at this. This is across the board outside of goal line. These are the type of coverages that you can expect. So why is this important? Well, when I was talking to pgotgame, he was calling out of the huddle Tampa 2. He was calling Tampa 2. I'm like, you never want to do that. Never do that. And the reason why is that you can always access Tampa 2 out of the huddle. You want to have some other play that you can have access to, because when you play online, you will run into somebody that uses no huddle. I guarantee it. If you haven't had it happen to you, it's going to happen to you the next game. I guarantee you're going to run into somebody who's going to run no huddle the entire time. So you got to be prepared to have some kind of a play to stop them if they go into no huddle. So what I recommend is that when you're coming out and you're choosing to play, don't choose an audible. Don't choose cover 2. Don't choose a Mike Blitz. Don't choose Tampa 2 or anything, or cover 3, because you can easily jump into those plays after the snap. Now, I do recommend actually going ahead and using either some kind of a run defense, and pretty much the best run defenses in the game right now are like a cover 4, because the safeties come down to the box. So basically cover 4 is usually the most common defense that most players use to stop the run, or some kind of an aggressive blitz. So that would be like a corner blitz or safety blitz or something like that. We're going to bring something up. So I'm going to go ahead and select one as my base play is the Edge Blitz 3, and the reason why I'm selecting Edge Blitz 3 as my base play is because I can get to very fast, easy pressure with it. I can also go ahead and audible into coverage with it, or I can go ahead and flip it and have the same results. So let's go ahead and jump into this, and I'm going to show you the reason why this is going to be a base play I'm going to pick is going to be the Edge Blitz 3 out of the 3-4 odd. Alright, so one of the reasons why I like to go ahead and come out of this Edge Blitz is because basically I can set up fairly easy pressure with it, and it only takes basically 3 adjustments. It's not the best blitz out there, I can guarantee you that, but for the most part, if your opponent does not block a 6-person or ID the mic, you're going to be able to get pressure. Now, another reason why I like this blitz is because I can flip it. I can flip it to the other side against my opponent. And set the blitz up again, and I'm going to basically get the pressure off the other side, so he can't necessarily pick up on the tendencies. Now that actually got picked up on nano protection or nano detection, but you can see the pressure came off the edge, and I can hit him with both sides with it. So that's why I like to come out of some kind of a base blitz that I know I can get pretty good pressure with it, because then I can spring it on my opponent. What you want to do though when you're playing a game is you want to give your opponent basically the same type of a look. So that's what a lot of the top Madden players do, is they'll actually go ahead and try to get their opponents to go ahead and think that they're going to be seeing the same type of a coverage against them, and then they're going to go ahead and flip into another play. So if I'm looking at this play art as a defender, I'm seeing the same exact play with the edge pressure off the edge, and I'm thinking, okay, I got to get rid of the ball hot. I got to go ahead and take the ball down to the flat and try to go ahead and dump that ball off. And then what's going to happen is that he's going to mess up my reads. I might get the opponent might get a block shed against him, and that's actually going to put you in a pretty good situation. So it's critical to have basically the same type of look when you're playing defense. You want your opponents guessing, not knowing exactly what type of coverage you're going to come out. You want to go ahead and try to hit them with as many different types of looks post snap, but you want to give them the same identical look pre-snap. So if you do that, he's going to have a hard time doing that. So that's why a lot of the top Madden players will sit in one defense the entire game. These guys that go into tournaments sit in one defense. And one of the things that happened here in 2018 that probably the top Madden players don't like is that you get penalized for using nickel defenses against running sets. So you have to play defense for defense, and it's a little bit more realistic. And a lot of the top Madden players don't like it because they probably can't have these elaborate blitzes like they used to, such as the nickel blitz or the mic scrape that was in years passes. So basically, make sure you're showing your opponent the same look. Also, don't pick any of your audibles as one of your base plays. You don't want to do that. Now, here's another thing that you can do against your opponent too, just to keep them guessing. Now, this is a feature that actually was brought up by Zanfer for Progress. Great YouTube channel. You should go ahead and subscribe to it. If you're playing man coverage defense, following the defender or following the wide receiver exactly where he's going to go is very hard. So here's a pro tip for you, and this is just an actual add-on tip. If you're playing man coverage defense, you've got a man assignment, but you want to try to disguise the defense that you're running. One of the things that you can do is you can hit your left bumper or L1 button prior to the snap of the ball, and what's going to happen is my defender is going to follow that guy the entire time. I'm not using a stick, and I'll show you in instant replay on how my defender, I never touched my guy. My defender actually followed this guy perfectly to go ahead and take away that seam route. So that's a little pro tip that you can pick up on, and sometimes people just don't know about that. Like with man coverages, go ahead and jump into that. More importantly too is basically having three-headed heat. Three-headed heat is just like it's just like basically having heat off the right side, off the left side. Now the reason why I do like this this blitz is because I can easily go ahead and show my opponent the same look, but this time I can go ahead and provide heat from both sides. So let's go ahead and see if we can get this thing settled in. So now I've got basically the same type of heat against my opponent, but this time I've got pressure that should come off the edge. And for some particular reason, that tackle just keeps picking it up in practice mode. But you've got pressure coming from the left side, you've got pressure coming from the right side, and if you have some pressure that you can establish in the middle, which would be like a pinch bucko, that would be another good way to go ahead and establish some pressure for your opponent to be able to get pressure down the middle. So you want to be able to have access to pressure from both sides of the field and keep your opponent guessing. Mix up your defenses. Don't go with the same coverage all the time. I would use a lot of zone coverage and then sprinkle in some man coverage just to throw off his reads. Know what routes, what type of formations. This is the next important thing. Tendencies. Tendencies, you have to pay attention to what your opponent is using on defense. You need to go ahead and start realizing, you need to start identifying his formations and the type of plays that he uses. If he does not use no huddle against you, and he takes you back to the play call screen where you can see the previous play, make note of it. Say the play out loud. Oh, he's playing, he's doing doubles, he's doing verticals, because that's going to help you internalize and memorize what he's doing. Verticals is a bunch of streaks, and unless he's doing some kind of elaborate adjustments, you know that man coverage should be able to go and stop that. So you have to pick up on tendencies and see if he starts using certain plays over and over again. And also, probably one of the most important things is start picking up, really start paying attention and noting what he does in third down. A lot of times, good players, when they're playing offense, they're going to go to their money plays in third down. They're going to go for the plays they know that they can get first downs with. So you need to pay attention to those plays in third downs, because those are going to be the big plays that are going to come back, and you want to be able to go and capture someone and be able to catch them in that play and read their reads and make their progressions on that. If you have a guy that forces ball to wide receivers, you want to start focusing on that. So one of the features in the game that you can do is individual coverages. And say, for instance, he's throwing the ball to the McDonald, you can spotlight that receiver with fairly easy adjustments. So to spotlight a receiver, you're going to hit your Y or triangle button twice or once, then your X button, I don't know what that is, icon of your receiver, and if you take a look, X, which I don't know what that is for, let's go ahead and spotlight it. Now everybody's going to float around McDonald. People are going to go ahead and basically float around this guy. The coverage is going to be even tighter on McDonald, which is going to be to your advantage. So tendencies, if you got a guy that forces a ball to receivers, spotlight that receiver. Pick up on the plays that they're using. A lot of top Madden players too, they'll basically use a vanilla cake defense in the first series. You ever play a guy that you go ahead and just march the ball down the field the first series and you just shred this guy's defense and you're going, why is he playing a cover 4 the entire time? I just destroyed this guy. Oh, I'm gonna blow this guy out of the water. It's gonna blow him out of the water. All of a sudden the second half comes around and all of a sudden you can't do nothing. You're like, why am I getting shut down? Because he is watching your tendencies. He wants to see what you're doing. Top Madden players are playing the game to win. They're not playing the game to try to stop you for every play. There is no perfect defense out there. There's not going to be a defense that's going to basically stop everything. So sometimes the top players, what they'll do is they're going to play a very vanilla defense from the very beginning, and they're going to say, okay, we're going to hit my opponent with cover 3. Let's go and see what he does. Let's just take notes on what type of an offense he runs, and then we're going to wait until the second half or the next quarter, the next series, and then we're going to start locking down on his offense. And they'll wait for you to do that, because if you can't score points in the second half and the score's tied going into the first half, you're screwed. He just sets you up. So make sure you pay attention to that. All right, the final thing I want to talk about, like top Madden players do, is they use hybrid coverages. Last year it was all about cross manning. This year you can still cross man. It's just that it's going to be a little bit more difficult to cross man because basically you're limited to just a couple of players now that you can do. You can set up on man assignments, but a lot of the top players, what they do is they use hybrid coverages so opponents can't really pick up on their tendencies. So you got to be very conscious of that. That if you want to go ahead and make more stops against your opponent, you got to put him out of his comfort zone. If you got an opponent that's he's hitting you with a lot of flat routes, he's hitting you with drag routes, you might want to consider going ahead and using a hybrid coverage so you can cross man. Or you might want to go ahead and think of, okay, I'm going to go into basically a pinch up buck go, but since he keeps hitting me with this out route, I'm going to go ahead and put a hard flat over here on the back side. Now he might just keep hitting you with an out route, and he might set you up for a big play, which would be a drag down the middle. But it's basically you have to create gaps to win battles. You want to fill a gap by opening up a gap and let your opponent make a bad decision. So this would be probably a good defense if your opponent is actually hitting you with basically any kind of like an out route or something like that. You can go ahead and take your man coverages and put them into flats. You can do, like, here's a unique coverage that you can go ahead and jump into. You could do a hybrid cover 2. So now basically you've got a cover 2 shell, but now you've got man coverages on the slot guys. They're going to follow people around, and it's going to force your opponent to he's not going to, I don't understand. You're going to be like, wait, that should have played a little bit different, or that guy should have dragged across the middle. It's going to throw off your opponent's reads if you do hybrid coverages. So you got to think out of the box. You don't want to necessarily go ahead and use the same defenses. One of the best adjustments that I like to do, which is a hybrid coverage, is that I'll come into some kind of like zero blitz, and I'll go ahead and take my linebackers and actually put them in coverages like this, and all I really have to do is worry about the running back. But now I've basically got myself a cloud flat coverage, and it's going to throw my opponent's read off initially. And if I throw a little pressure off the edge, that's going to be another way to do that. So just to kind of go back to what tips and what strategies that top Madden players do. First and foremost, money plays and blitzes and all that kind of stuff, and base plays. I know I produce videos like that and actually put those out, but that's not going to go ahead and win games for you. It's going to give you a tool in your toolbox to go ahead and win games, but it's not going to win games for you, because playing defense and being successful at defense is actually going ahead and making adjustments and doing stuff like that. Most important thing that you need to understand is that you never call a base play that you can call all of your audibles. This is pro tip number 1. Don't do that. Secondly, if you want to go ahead, you want to disguise your coverage and give your opponent basically the same look over and over again, so he can't tell whether pressure's coming off the edge, coming off the other side, if it's coming down the middle, or if he's going to be dealing with coverages, or if he's going to deal with hybrid coverages. Give your opponent the same look. Though I guarantee you that the same look defense is what, if you watch the pros play, the guys that win the big money, they all give their opponents the same look. They're not changing up their defenses to try to give their opponents a tell. You don't want to give a tell to your opponent. Try to have three-headed heat. Have pressure off the right, off the left side, and up the middle. If that means changing your base play, that's fine, but make sure you have the same look again with your opponent. Pick up your opponent's tendencies and try to stop those tendencies. Try to follow what they're doing and make sure that you go and cover that up, and run hybrid defenses. Don't be concerned about giving up a hole in the defense if you're going to trap your opponent for a pick 6. Turnovers are the key to this game. If you get more turnovers in this game, you will win more games. So once again, to my subscribers, I appreciate the support. If you found this video valuable and you sat through this, and you're listening to me right now, hit that like button. I demand you hit that like button, because you obviously sat through it and you pick some good stuff up from this. If you want to get daily tips, go ahead and hit that. Hit the subscribe button if you're not so already. And if you want to get one-on-one tutoring, you're interested in taking your game to your next level, if you're struggling in your leagues, you're getting beat by your friends, and you want to get one-on-one tutoring, go to my Patreon account, take a look at that. I can either build you a scheme, or I can go ahead and give you some, give an hour of my time to go and help you take your game to your next level. So once again, to my subscribers and my Patreon members, thank you for your support. Until next time.